So, yeah, welcome. What I thought I would talk about today is joyful growth in 2026. So, some of you guys voted for this as a topic for an article, but Russell and I only just finished the joyful growth month that we did. So I was like, that's so interesting. Like, how many times can I speak about joyful growth? And I guess it's more. So, specifically to 2026, so we're going to speak about joyful growth in 2026, depth of connection, and what that all is in terms of audience development and what you guys want. I'm around for questions as well. I'm going to head up for a sauna after this. So I just thought I would do this. It's half term next week. So it means I can put this out and then speak to you directly because when I put that poll up, we had just finished a whole month of joyful growth. And I'm like, more growth. Like, people really want to talk about growth. And then I get the opposite, which is you guys are sick of hearing about growth and you just want to do your own thing and focus on the creative practice. So I'm quite confused, if I'm honest. Like, do people want to talk about growth? Do they want to talk about growing joyfully? Do they want to talk about what's different in 2026? And one of the best ways to find that out is just to come on a live and ask. So if you've got specific questions and you want to ask specific questions about growing your Substack joyfully so that it feels really good to you and it feels really aligned with you, then please post them below, because I feel I've talked about this endlessly and I have always got more to say, of course, but I don't want to be like a broken record either. So in terms of the growth engine that Substack offers us, there are some key things that you can do when you are inside of the Substack network. So thinking about your Substack publication, your digital magazine, your podcast, your blog, however you've set it up, there are some things that you can do. You want to be using the recommendations tool. So Substack's inbuilt recommendations network is called Recommendations, and you want to recommend other writers, authors, creatives that you genuinely enjoy reading. So it is built on reciprocity, this platform. Like, I deeply believe that. It's not like a follow for follow mentality at all. I know we'll see notes that are about that now, but those are old, dying behaviors from the internet that mean very little in practice. So it's much more about you understanding who you recommend and why. It's not about recommending someone to get a recommendation back, although that could happen. It's about you building a relationship with your colleagues. Like, if you are writing here for genuine reasons, if you're podcasting here, if you are part of this wonderful network, then you should want your colleagues to also win at the Substack game, right? So it makes sense to recommend the people that you love and not feel in any way that you're in competition with those people. So you might think that's idealistic, but that is my take on it. That's what I do. It's what I've always done. I've had over 10,000 subscribers come in through the recommendations network. They are not small numbers. So that's the first thing that I want to say. With the recommendations, you also want to write a blurb, and people can add those blurbs to their welcome page. So if you have your Substack URL and put /welcome, you'll be able to add 3 blurbs from the recommendations page that you have that people have written for you. So that's really beautiful, because obviously you are then being recommended by 3 other writers, authors, creatives on that page that fresh subscribers come to. Usually that page is shared outside of the Substack network, but that's a technicality. Look at my last post for more details on that, the homepage post. But that's really good, because then obviously you have the social proof of other people that recommend your work. So that's a really lovely thing for others to see, but also you add their kind words about you, and it just builds that beautiful network. So you might already know people, you might not, but you can get to know people. Like, we all know how to do that, don't we? Imagine it's like the most beautiful networking event that you've ever been invited to. What would that involve? Would you take a plant and give someone a plant? Would you offer to pour someone a coffee? Like, I know online life is fast, but if we slow it down and we do the beautiful human thing, then things work on a deeper level. So that's definitely my first recommendation, to look at the recommendations tool and to set those up. They will impact over time, especially if people are bringing audiences from other platforms. I've had some really big upticks in subscribers from people being recommended at the point of sign up. Even though Substack have changed the way that works, I still think that it is really, really worth doing. So please do that little piece. If you haven't already, I do it as a monthly practice of gratitude. So I'll come to the recommendations page. I'll read through any new recommendations that I've had. If I don't know the author's work, I'll go and check it out. Like I might read a couple of posts. Like we've all got time for that. We need to make time for that. If you are a hyper independent lone wolf, then obviously all of this is going to give you the ick, and that's absolutely fine. But this is what all of my work is set up on. So, I don't run ads. I've never run ads. I'm interested in running ads now, but like all of the subscribers that I've got and all of the success that I've had with the work that I've done has been rooted in this. So the art of reciprocity online, really, and it being part of my creative practice. So yeah, that's the first piece. Obviously, on notes, I talk about this a lot, but you've got to curate your notes feed so that it looks like a place you want to hang out. So if you go there and it's full of American politics or really difficult news headlines, your nervous system is going to be in a state of high alert. The main work to do in life and in the online world is nervous system work. Like if you've not got to that yet and you've not circled back to what your nervous system is doing throughout the day, every single day, then that is the deeper piece of work to do. On social media, just because we are used to seeing things that are sensationalized, that are disturbing, that are sad, that are difficult, doesn't mean we have to see them at the amount that we're seeing them. And actually, it's really detrimental, not only to our physical health and our nervous system, but also to our mental health because it shapes our beliefs. So we have to have notes as a beautifully curated place. So that involves muting the things that you don't like, liking the things that you do like, being generous in conversations with the people that you really like, liking their notes, commenting below, like making sure that you feel like you're part of a conversation and kinship there. And then from that place, obviously writing notes is helpful. Writing notes puts you in the Substack network, and if your followers and your subscribers see that note and interact with it, then Substack will send it out further as well. So it's definitely worth doing. In terms of people wanting the influx, like people think that they want virality, people think that they want influx, people think that they want everyone to cheerlead them around a specific thing, partially again because you've seen that online. So you've seen someone get beautiful traction with a really sophisticated and nuanced thought that they've written down. But quite often there's a lot of work gone in before that. They haven't just thrown it up. So it's part of a bigger set of thinking. It's part of a body of work that they've been doing over 10 years or maybe longer. So sometimes just because something is short form, we think it's something that's just been thrown up or just happened. But actually there's oftentimes quite a lot of planning that's gone in or deep research around that. So if you approach notes in that same way, where you treat it as a beautiful place of experimentation and seeing where your voice wants to come out in that marketplace, that can be a really nice prompt and way in. If you write fresh notes, as in you're not restacking your own work, or anybody else's work, but it's a fresh note, the algorithm prefers those. So on my fresh notes, I'm much more likely to get subscribers to my publications than I am if I restack a part of my article. Subscribers aren't always absolutely everything, but when you guys are talking about growth, I think that's what you mean. So please let me know if I'm wrong and growth means something else to you at this time, and I can speak to that as well. So fresh notes are the way. Over in Sparkle on Substack, we do a beautiful engagement notes thread once a month. And I find once a month is enough for the people that are in my community. I know Sarah Faye does one every single week. So definitely worth paying for her subscription if you want to get into that space, meet people, network, understand more about how the notes algorithm works. Ours is once a month because we're focusing in on our publications, and our publications being like our best work. So our legacy work, the work that we've spent most time on. And then from that, it flows out that notes is actually, it feels easier rather than the other way round. So we're focusing on doing the work inside of our publication and that being our best work, and then having enough capacity to come to notes. So there's quite often this feeling of like you're running out of time, or the time is now, or da, da, da. You've got to remind yourself that you've got time. So we are on the internet and expressing ourselves as creative humans at a brand new time. Like it's a brand new time every day. So our parents didn't have that opportunity. Our grandparents didn't have that opportunity. Nowhere in our female lineage has there been this opportunity. So you're not too late. you have got loads of time, and it's exciting, it's beautiful. We can shape things the way that we really want to shape them. And I really believe that. Again, the haters, and I do have some, will say that I'm idealistic. Well, it's my choice to live in this body and be idealistic and to live inside of my vision. And that is what served me really, really well. So if you feel compelled by that invite too, come and join us, come and be part of that. If you don't, and you want to do it another way, and you want to hustle and grind and push yourself into the ground and feel defeatist about things, then go right ahead. Like, this is just a different way of looking at things. And it's the way that I look at things. And it's the way that has worked for me and loads of my clients. If you have a publication that you're really proud of, energetically, you are going to get behind it more than if you have one that you're like, oh, but my about page this, that thing of like, oh, I haven't updated my website in a while. So people feel like that towards their Substack. So inside of Sparkle on Substack, the membership, we have practical weeks where we get the stuff done so that energetically all of that. It's like tidying a cupboard, right? So you open your cupboard, you're like, oh, goodness me, like there's some crumbs there and I need to spray and wipe it out and all the things. There is a part of that where a healthy Substack does need tending to, like a garden. You do need to check your about page. You do need to sort of feel into whether you've evolved. You do need to check your welcome emails and that's all working fine. You do need to think about the connection of the subscriber. They haven't just subscribed as just like a random throwaway thing. Like, that's meaningful. It's more meaningful now in a trust recession online than it's ever been. So that's beautiful. So you need to feel proud and 100% behind the Substack that you've set up, which is why I did the homepage video for you all this week, so that you can see that is more important than it's ever been. In some of my early classes, a few years ago, I would have been like, oh, branding, no, we're not bothering with that. It's all about the words. It's changed. It's not all about the words. It can't be, because there's too many voices here. So we couldn't possibly tune into all of the vibrations of all the voices. We need to understand more quickly from branding an organization what you're about and why we should care. So that for joyful growth is really important. And also because you'll feel proud. And once you feel proud, it's easier to talk about it both on platform and off platform and invite people in. Sometimes when we've been writing here a while, it gets such a big publication with so many posts and so many different places to go and visit. We do need to do a little bit of a reorganization. So it's a bit like, sometimes people call these creative fires. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as that, but it is a little bit like sitting with renewal and sitting with evolution and being like, is this stuff still relevant? And so for me, part of the really interesting practice is understanding where my work, because I've been doing this a long time now, where my work hits the wider internet. So if you haven't got your Substack plugged into Google Search Console, do that, because once you do that, you'll be able to see exactly what's going on in terms of the search terms. And then with Google Analytics, the actions that people are taking as well. So it's really worth sitting with the fact that Substack is the internet. Yes, it's a platform on the internet, but people from outside of Substack are searching for things and ending up on Substack. And now people know what Substack is. So I would say I've gone from like nobody knowing what it is to a few people who are in writerly circles knowing what it is, to a few more people who are in creative circles, to, because the entrepreneurs are here now, everybody knows what Substack is. And that's the messaging that's come in and gone out on other platforms. So there is still a bit of work to do in terms of people understanding what they're subscribing to and what it means, and the fact you've got their email address and all that sort of stuff. But it's less work than we would have had to do 6 months or a year ago. So it's much easier now. I know you guys are writing stuff, so I'm just going to have a little look. Mary Beth's here. Yeah, there's a lot of people here, Mary Beth. I think it's because I emailed it out and I don't normally email them out because I feel like I'm pestering people. But obviously if people have got like time at lunchtime to listen. And it's also because this is such a hot topic. I just wanted to talk to more people. But yeah, this does feel like a lot of people. But I am really interested in what joyful growth means to you and what depth of connection with your subscriber base, your audience means to you as well. So we've talked a bit about recommendations, blurbs, the welcome page. We've talked a bit about notes. If you are feeling a certain type of way about your work or about your publication, There's deeper work to do. Sorry, someone's trying to call me. No, it's fine. There we go. There's deeper work to do. So the deeper work is what I hold space for inside of the membership, because you think you're just writing online, but you're not. Like, it's massively brave. And also there's an expectation there. So with expectation comes disappointment as well. So if there's an expectation around where something will resonate, or how many likes something will get, or hopefully if something gets shared, or, certain people in your audience leaving kind comments, well, the body is in an expectation mode, and that can then feel quite difficult to hold. And you can tell yourself, oh, well, nothing's really happened. Like, the amount of times that I have to unpick that with clients in terms of what their expectation is around what they want to see happening. And this is where the analytics are really your friend. So your metrics inside of Substack have got a lot to tell you and teach you about how your audience are behaving. There'll be a certain percentage only reading an email. They've never even clicked into the Substack website. They don't know that there's a Substack app. There'll be some people that are clicking around a lot behind the scenes, and we get to see that. The open rate should stay steady. If your open rates are diving for any sort of reason, you'll need to think about, am I emailing too much? Am I emailing not enough? Have I got delivery problems? Do I need to clean my email list? Like, there are all of these sorts of ways of tending to our Substack garden that we need to give some thought to. So again, this is why the metrics are only vanity metrics, because you will end up with people that have spelt their email address incorrectly, so have never received an email because it doesn't exist. People who it's not relevant for them anymore, so they don't open it. People where they never got it anyway, it went to junk and then spam and then just got lost in the internet ether. So it's much more it's much better, and it feels more rewarding and more genuine to focus on the depth of connection for the people who show up. So this week inside of my Audience Alchemy program, we were looking at statistics around the people who show up for our work specifically. So, for example, I wanted to look at the membership, and I wanted to look at the names of the people who pay monthly and the names of the people who pay annually. And one of the things when I was doing this exercise, I said to my cohort that were with me live, I was like, I cannot believe how many of these names, especially on the monthly, that I've never seen. They've not come to the live calls. They don't chat in the Substack chat. I've never seen them, and it blows my mind, because they are obviously having an experience. They're paying month on month. Some of them had been there like over a year, but they're not coming. And again, similarly, people will email me and be like, oh, I've been subscribed for 6 months, I've been reading, but like now I really want to do the practical. Like, people are having such diverse experiences of our Substack publication, whether that is a passive reading experience and we want to move them along the scale into more actively engaging in our publication and with us, or whether it'll always stay as passive engagement. So you can't compare what you see online that somebody else is doing, or what somebody else is, potentially having with their audience, into what yours looks like. You just have to focus on the people that are showing up and go deeper with them. And so that's a lot of what I talk about in terms of this depth of connection and really getting to know our audience, simply because once we know the people that are more actively engaged, we understand more about how to get the magic engagement trio. So the likes, the comments, the shares is like the magic number for algorithm boosting through our publications and beyond, because people are going to share to notes. People are going to tell their friends. These are the people, and it's not all of society that want to be like, oh, you need Substack support, you need Substack strategy, you need to speak to Claire. Those are the people. And so over the years, I've definitely focused on the people that are more present and more vocal, and then tried to bring the other layer of people into my publication. Now, obviously, mine is a membership, but I also have a paid newsletter. And so inside the paid newsletter, I do different things every year. I mix it up. I think it's quite boring to stay subscribed to the same person that doesn't evolve. Like, I just don't think that's interesting for anyone. And so there'd be a higher amount of churn. I just think that there's more that we can do as curators of that experience between us and our subscriber around how we hold them. So whether that's guest interviews, Whether you do an audio series on something, whether you do a special project, whether you delve into sort of more memoir style writing for a while, whether you do some free Zoom calls for your subscribers, like however you want to do it to get to know your audience. 2026 is about getting to know your audience. Like, I'll just put it right out there. Like, we can't not know who's subscribed to us. We need to have a sense of who the people are. We need to have a sense that if we were in like on a beautiful beach party, that those would be the faces that would be turning up, because they're turning up for your work week in and week out. So we need to understand who they are, what they're motivated by, what they want. If they want to engage passively and not like and comment, like, we need to be okay with that. Like, we need to say, like, online life is so busy. Don't feel like you need to do anything. Like, it's fine for you to read and be reading and have a beautiful experience here. So, yeah, so I think separating out what it is that you think you want, and what you actually want. If it is about, say, if you want to get to bestseller, for example, 101 paid subscribers, you need a strategy. Like, that's not going to just happen. You need a strategy. You need to know what your paid conversion rate is. You need to know how to convert more of your audience and then bring more audience in. So some of that can happen through Substack for sure. But if you want to do that quicker, you need to grow off platform as well, because otherwise the only thing that you've got is going viral. And going viral is like a lottery. Like, yes, there are component parts to it. I don't teach it, like, specifically because, well, I've got like a bee in my bonnet about it. But anyway, that's for a different day. I don't teach it, but you can utilize it. But then you've got to work with who arrives in a big influx rather than joyful, sustainable growth, which is what I teach, where you're getting to know people as they arrive and you're taking them deeper. But if bestseller is important, you're either going to need to go viral one or more times, or you're going to need to focus on growth off platform, which could be pinning Pinterest pins. These work for evergreen growth. That's great. Blog posts with SEO thought through, ads. The love of the ad, but like meta ads work, they work for people. People run meta ads, and then I look at the Substack and there's another 20,000 subscribers in there. What are you going to do? Like, that's what works. So I don't do them because I'm not about that in this phase, but I am curious about it for sure. Probably more curious about it for my business than I am for my Substack, but I guess I'm just throwing it in the mix so that you guys have heard it from me. I always want to keep you up to date with like what I'm thinking and stuff. So yeah, so audience development, using the tools that Substack give us, come into it with like a playful take on it all, like what would feel really good to do. When I interviewed JP from the Pound Project last week, that's because I wanted to. Like, I genuinely wanted to talk to him. I think he's really inspiring. I love all of the authors that he's partnered with. I love the concept of crowdfunding. I think it's really dynamic and exciting. I think it's a massive publishing disruptor. I love that Emma Gannon got behind it and like spoke about it all. And I just really wanted to chat to JP. So that felt exciting to me. I also was really curious about Amy McNee's book, which I've ordered because it was inspired by a viral Substack essay. And I'm a Substack geek. I love Substack so much. So for me, because Substack has been my special interest, like for like 3-4 years now, that just felt like a really exciting chat to have. So to get to do that live on Substack and invite you guys along and have people listen afterwards just felt really good. So I'm never like pushing jelly up the hill. Like, for me, it's like, what's going to feel really good? What am I going to be excited by? What can I keep doing in a way that feels really good? So lives bring in subscribers, there's no doubt about it. So if you are on a conversation with somebody else, whether you've scheduled the live or whether they've scheduled the live, subscribers will come in. And that's specifically because people have had the opportunity to be invited to hear you speak and to see more about who you are in the world. People can be reading your posts for literal years and have the strangest parasocial relationship with you. And I'm speaking from experience. And I don't have a massive platform, right? But like, even that has been so disconcerting. Like, it has knocked me off center so many times. I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like, it's beautiful that people say you're exactly the same in real life. I'm a bit like, well, who else was I going to be? But like, it is so odd. So when you turn up on video, it cuts through all of that. They're like, oh, that's the person. Like, that's the person whose voice I've been reading, who I thought I knew, who I built up a picture of. There they are in the 3D. So lives work for growing subscriber bases. They also work for just being a really cool feature of Substack. They're just really, really great. What I do, and I mentioned this at the beginning, is I don't email them out. I share the link. So I usually end up with about 100 people on a live. And then because I've emailed this one out, I've just looked and there's 802 people have been on this live. So I'm either going to have a ton of unsubscribes, so I'll go and check after this and let you know in the replay, or people are going to be subscribing because it's taught the algorithm that this has got 800 people on it, so people might want to listen. I don't know which way around it'll go. It's a gamble. But usually with the unsubscribes and the churn, it's either because people have been subscribed to you for too long and it's like it's not that natural to be subscribed to multiple people's lives. Like if you think about this week and what's happened in the news with James Van Der Beek, obviously we have a visceral reaction because we feel like we knew him as an elder millennial. Like he shaped my teenage experience of love. Like that's massive. That's huge. So we're going to have some big internet feelings about that parasocial relationship, even though I've not seen him for years. I didn't know that he had 6 kids. I don't really know what he's been in since Dawson's Creek. I'll be really honest, but I had that connection to him. And obviously, like, I felt something. Like, it feels so sad that he's 4 years older than me and he's someone that I watched as a teenager and he's passed away. Why am I talking about that? I don't know, but it's that piece of like being subscribed to somebody's life. So yes, this is it. So if you are getting unsubscribes, it could just be because that relationship has run its course, or people have heard enough about a particular thing, or it's triggering them because of what they're going through in their own life. So it's not personal, and we don't need to be liked by the entire internet. You can polarize, you can accept that subscribers will come and go. Sometimes subscribers come and go and circle back again. Sometimes subscribers come and go and then tell 20 odd people about your work, and when you've got a book out in 5 years time or whatever, they'll be the people buying the book. So I think just being real about the subscriber experience and what that actually is. We're not hoarding subscribers. Like, we don't need to do that. We need to accept that it is a fluid space. Substack have got it set up like a blog, right? So for the most part, unless it's paywalled, people can have a reading experience without subscribing. So I think just being cool with that and knowing that we are putting our work out billboard style, but also trying to cultivate connection and joyful growth by having a lovely time in the comments and like meeting people on Zoom or meeting people for coffee in real life, which I'll do next month at Annick Story Festival in Northumberland. It'll be gorgeous, So those sorts of experiences, those like genuinely make me happy. Like, I love creating online. I love that I can do this work. I love that I can meet other writers that are also doing this work. So I think that generosity of spirit can spill over. So lives are good. Unsubscribes will happen. When we're building and there's a compound effect, it can be really interesting to notice where people are at. So there was definitely that piece of subscriber fatigue that was well documented last year on Substack, because it's not like scrolling. Like, yes, we can scroll notes, but on Instagram, for example, which is like my second favorite platform, when we're scrolling, like, it would take a lot to unfollow, because it's just scrolling, it's passive, it's just part of our entertainment piece. Whereas with Substack, we can feel overwhelmed because we're not getting to somebody's work. Like, oh, I didn't get round to it this week, or I missed another call, or I can't go to that other thing. And then we're trying to sort of equate that with value and like what we value. So value in our time, yes, but also if we're paying for subscriptions, we just definitely hit a point where we can't, like, we physically can't engage. And that makes us feel guilty or sad, or like we're not engaged enough or whatever. So the pause button exists. You can pause paid subscriptions. It's a really good thing to do. Give yourself a break, come back to them. And people will also obviously do that with us, and that's fine. I think that for me, like, there's been a real beat with this where I've realized over time how long people stay inside of Sparkle on Substack and how long people stay as a paid newsletter subscriber on Creatively Conscious. And that's been so insightful. So I think if you're in your first year, just know that there's a little bit of that to figure out. Also with the monthly, like, the monthlies I know can feel so personal if someone leaves. And it's not personal. It's really just like how I've explained that, people are swapping in and out of subscriptions. If we were setting our subscriptions up off platform, not only would they be at a higher price point for most of us, but it also wouldn't be as easy to swap in and out of subscription. So part of it is the platform fatigue as well, where it's like, oh, this just feels like a lot. That said, like, I'm giving you the negatives so that I can get you to the positive of the joyful growth and the depth of connection, because people aren't meant to be subscribed to people long term. Like, there should be no guilt about that. You can subscribe to someone to support them for a year, for 6 months, whatever you want, and then you can move on with your life. And if you want to come back, or if you want to read their stuff, or you want to share their stuff, then that's gorgeous, isn't it? So I think there's lots within that. If you're not comfortable with doing lives, audio is still a massive tool for depth of connection and joyful growth, because if someone can hear your voice, it instantly breaks the fourth wall, and they're like, oh, I can hear their voice. They're instantly having a visceral sensory experience instead of a passive parasocial experience. So it changes all of that dynamic. And so if you want to read your posts aloud, if you want to do any sort of audio podcasting with anybody, that's a really beautiful thing to do. The last statistic that I have from Substack is that publications using audio grow their Substacks 2.5 times faster than those not using audio. There's been no updated statistic, but it's been a while. So, but I do think from what I see, feel, and hear, that is still very true. I think that reminding people that you have a podcast and having that connection to them off platform. So like, people will search Substack in that podcast app and find Sparkle on Substack to listen to, which I love, which is why I put the lives in there as well in the stream. People will search Substack on Instagram and find my account. People will search Substack on LinkedIn and then want to work with me as like a corporate connect. So all of this stuff can go on if you know what you stand for and what you're about. Now, obviously, Substack is a specific platform. It is a specific niche in lots of ways, so it won't suit everybody. But I think there is that piece where people need to understand what we're about, because they would be nervous to tell people to subscribe or share our work if they weren't confident enough, like, in us to do that. So audio helps with that. Video is like the golden egg of all of that. Video is amazing. If you can get yourself comfortable with video, I've got lots of resources to help if you do need that. I used to be terrified of video, like actually physically terrified. Like, I can still feel like in my stomach how I used to feel. Like, it's still in there somewhere. Probably need to do some like somatic release, some sort of dancing to Bad Bunny or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's still in there because it's been like a learned thing. Like, we've had to learn it. I've been doing videos since university. So since I was 18, we had like these huge suitcases that we had to like carry around and film things. And I always opted to be behind the camera. So there was one that I did that I was in front of the camera, and it was the most weird experience to see myself on screen. Like, I could not. Yeah, it was almost like, like somebody in an ancient tribe seeing a mirror. Like, it was like that. I remember it so well, being 18. And obviously video has moved on, but if you're looking at how comfortable other people are with video, it's because they've learned it. So they've either grown up with it and they're a digital native that way, or they've learned to find a way that they can deliver it that makes them comfortable, and they've learned self-compassion is the biggest thing with that. So it is a mixed media platform. So all of those things are available. That said, great writing and depth of connection can exist in a silo. Like, you'll see people completely rejecting any sort of video on Substack, any sort of audio, like just doing the writing. So there's any sort of way you like with it, really. You just have to decide what feels good for you. In terms of taking breaks and publishing cadence and all of that stuff, like, people ask about that. And I think that it's that piece of you being familiar enough in someone's inbox to almost like look forward to your writing landing in their inbox or landing in their Substack app. And that just takes a little bit of consistency and time. So my publishing day used to be Sunday. I really like that publishing cadence. And then I decided this year that I wanted to have the whole weekend off. So like, in my mind, I would get up on a Sunday before the kids got up, and I would like finish anything off with edits and publish, and then I would check back in again later on Sunday afternoon. But this year I just decided to give myself that gift of having Sundays off, and that's been really nice so far. So you're not locked to it, you can change it. I think that there's loads of ways with how we relate to our own publication, and I guess my advice there is just don't lock yourself into a cage. Like, you get to evolve and do what feels really good to you. So yeah, definitely another joyful growth tip. Using your subscriber tab to send specific emails to specific segments of your email list can be really, really helpful. So if you say, for example, want to target free subscribers to understand more about what they're there for and what they like in terms of your writing, then you can set up a survey within Substack. We wrote about this in the Joyful Growth Challenge, so do head over to the Joyful Growth Challenge Substack if you want to read through that. But I've got some tips there for surveys, and then also for adding polls in posts. You have to add the polls in the actual post. You can't email them from the subscriber tab because they don't go anywhere. You can put them in, but nothing will happen. So getting to know your subscribers and really feeling like you understand why they're there. I think there's a lot of projection goes on, like my subscribers this or my audience this. And then when I break it down with people, they're like, oh, yeah. Also, it tends to be that we are often like 20, 30 steps ahead from where our audience are, especially if we're in the education space. So it can feel tempting to like race ahead or give people loads and loads of information and like be giving value, whereas actually people really, really respect something short and digestible and actionable. And even more so now. So if you are in the education space, like I think that is something to really think about. People also really appreciate escapism. So if you're in the space where you offer that, and that's the essence of your publication, like going deeper into that and having people feel really safe that when they come to your space, that's what it is great in 2026. I think like people crave that more than ever. I feel like people have sort of forgotten. I wrote a note about this yesterday. People have sort of forgotten, like almost like human etiquette. So, if you were in a cafe and there's loads going on, the coffee machine's on, they do that banging noise, don't they, when they get the coffee and everything? Like, they've got to make sure it's all in there. And then there's the steam and there's loads going on. There's a queue of people, there's a mum with a baby, there's a toddler running around, there's people on laptops, there's people on a phone call. Sometimes there's someone who is absolutely outrageous and you're like, you're outrageous. Like, we're in a cafe. What are you even doing? So the other day, I was there with my daughter, she's 5, and we were like having our coffee. She was having a baby chino, and there was this family of it was 2 couples. They were older, much older than me. So like I want to say like 60s, right? And they were swearing like troopers, and we were like 2 seats down, and like all I could do was sort of glare. I'm just like, I've got a 5-year-old little girl here, like, do you mind? And it wasn't even something that was like worth swearing about either. When someone's like just needs to have a rant and you're like, oh, fair dues, all right then. But it wasn't even that. It was just so ridiculous what they were talking about. So it just made me feel really, really uncomfortable. And I mean, you guys might get out more than me and you might see that more, but when you're just what has happened here? Anyway, this is what I feel about notes. So on Substack notes, obviously social media is different, but on Substack notes, I feel like there are people that come on and say the most horrific things. And I'm just like, are you okay? Like, do you need to speak to someone? Like, that's not what this is. So as much as at the beginning, I'm like, you can mute your notes feed and it's all fine. There is still that piece where it's like, what is this? Like, this is not the thing. I think because I'm quite old school Substack as well, it's like, what is everyone doing now? Like, why is this the thing? So what I will say to that is Threads exists, Twitter exists, Blue Sky exists. Like, go there and have a rant and find people that want to be ranty with you. And also, activism has a beautiful place, but like saying stuff that is highly disturbing in the middle of everybody's coffee shop while we're on our laptops is not the one. So that's how I see notes. It's a beautiful little coffee shop. It's a gathering. It's a marketplace. Don't be the person that rudely shouts and swears and upsets people. Like, I just don't think that's what it's for. Probably everyone's nodding along, but if you're not, like, you probably just don't resonate with my work, because I'm just like, why would anyone do that? Anyway, it goes back to the nervous system piece. So 2 things I saw this week, I was just like, enraged because I just felt like it was so out of order. obviously part of this is my place of work. Like my laptop's right here. So it's like, this is my place of work. So partly that is me, but can you see how I'm having a nervous system response that some random on the internet has said something like bang out of order that I don't want to see? I would never, ever, ever choose to see the words that were written. I wouldn't. But that's why we'll see what happens with notes this year. That's why, other than curating our feed and hoping that we do it well, we have to really tune into what's going on, because you can feel rage, comparison, imposter syndrome, nerves, not good enough. Like there's just so much stuff that can go on. But if you're taking care of your nervous system and if you put in your creative practice first, you'll do your best work inside of your publication, and the confidence will spill out to promote it in other ways. So that's what I truly feel. Sorry for the rant on that one, guys, but Natalie's Natalie's laughing. See, the people that know me, so Natalie and Eva know me, so for them to comment on this live, that feels like natural and nice. But for me, because I've said that, like, see how I'm like, oh god, I've gone on a bit there, whatever. Like, because you need that feedback, like you need to know how you are received and perceived in a way. It's a funny thing about creating online. So regular breaks are great for joyful growth. You know, planning a summer break away from the internet, planning weekends away that are digital detoxes, bricking your phone. You know, you can get that device and brick your phone and all that sort of thing. Substack used to be like the nicer, and you'll still get people be evangelical about Substack for sure. But our nervous systems are not immune, like on this platform. They used to be. Like, I'll be really honest, they were, like, for a time. Like, it was just like a lovely, cozy, calm, super calm, long form place. Now we have to work harder for it to be that, which means that it's not that. Like, it can't be that if we have to work hard for it to be that. So the work has to go into the long form writing. So whether that's, you know, writing in a Google Doc or Word document or whatever you use and then bringing it in, whether that's you curating and choosing which communities you're part of that really light you up and make you feel like this is a safe place. I feel, you know, at this time, to be a woman, we've got a polarization going on, because we've got the best of times in terms of self-expression and being able to do these things and having other women to work with and work through things with that feels really good. And then we've got these horrible things being presented to us that tells us that women will never ever be safe in society. And I think that is really difficult, and it's a really difficult duality to hold. And sometimes you do want to just turn it all off and run away. And I think that we need to allow that in ourselves. We need to be in our life. Not only as writers, because it's beautiful to be in your life as a writer, isn't it? Like the way that you see the world and the way that you listen to things and the way that you feel inspired. But I do think it's more important than ever to find ways of understanding when we were online, why we're online, what we're doing, and then what our life is offline. So like sparkle time, for example, my mentor called it with me, which I loved. Shout out to Leonie, absolutely adore her. Leonie Dawson, she's on here now. You can go and look her up, but she's incredible. She's been online a long time and she's been through a lot. And I find, like, within the sisterhood, when I chat to people that have done this work for longer than me, that's when I feel soothed. Like, I really do, because some of the things that have happened and continue to happen online are more shocking than watching, like, you know, like a documentary. You're just like, oh my goodness, like this has just happened, and that feels really real, and that feels really horrible, and that feels really snidey. And sometimes it's projections, but a lot of the time, you know, we're all just figuring it out, aren't we? Okay, so I'll probably wrap up soon, but if you've got any more questions around joyful growth on Substack, depth of connection, drop them in the chat. I'm really happy to answer your questions today. Like I said, I came on because I feel confused why so many of you feel like you want more of that. I'm like, well, what more? Like, what more is there? I wonder whether it is also like, there must be more, like there must be something I haven't thought of. And like, honestly, like I've been teaching this work for so long, like I'll teach strategy, I'll teach logistics, I'll teach joyful growth, homepage organization, all of that. But like, we're doing it, like we're all doing it. So there isn't anything else, like there's nowhere to get to. Like, I don't feel more easeful now that I've got 18,000 Substack subscribers than I did when I had 1,000 Substack subscribers. Like there's nowhere to get to. Like it's just it's all the work. So yeah, I think part of it is just accepting that the joyful growth is now, like the joyful experiences are right here and now. If someone subscribes to your publication today and you check out their profile and you're like, how cool is that? Like, I want to have a chat with them. do that, like have a DM exchange with them, voice note them on Instagram. Like, you think that I'm being like OTT with this stuff, but like this is literally how I go on. Like, I'll just be like chatting with someone on Instagram because, well, that's real life. Like, sometimes obviously, I am neurodivergent, but sometimes people are like, oh, I just wanted to subscribe in the background. Like, there is definitely that vibe, but oftentimes it's like, oh yeah, cool. I'm doing Substack stuff and I love your work, or like whatever else. It can be like a really nice exchange. I feel like there's so much that we have to get over as women writing online before we can just feel centered and safe enough to carry on. So wherever you are on that bit of the journey, and I would say that took me quite a long time to get to that. And it was definitely playing out in my first couple of years here. I feel better about it now, but I feel better about it because I've deepened the connections with the people that supported me at the time. So the people that I have friendships with, kinships with, colleagueships, mentorships, I've had that for longer. So for me, it's been about time, the amount of time it takes to actually feel safe, secure, like, like you're doing a good job and all of that sort of stuff. Okay, questions. Good. Let me know if you've got any. So Rachel, hi Rachel. I'd like to go to a deeper level of calling in my people. I have my gingerbread person and started to draw them, but how can I dive deeper? Love this question. So the gingerbread person Rachel's talking about is like this. So here's what I made earlier. Oh, honestly, my drama teacher, so I'm going back to being like 17. She was like, you'd be such a good Blue Peter presenter. If you don't know Blue Peter, like it's a children's TV show. It's like tea time TV show, and the presenters were always massively enthusiastic, and there was always animals on, and they would always be going and visiting places. And I feel like I've won. I've won. It's literally my job. So sorry. So gingerbread person is about, on the inside it's how your audience member feels, and then on the outside it's about what they want or what they're thinking. So we just either I'm hilarious because I've evolved. Like, I don't care as much. I still care, but like I don't care as much. I'm just like, I'm just gonna be myself on the internet. So when you work out how they feel on the inside and you know what they want on the outside, that really helps you to understand the point at which they're meeting your work. So your work could be a Substack note, it could be a video like this, it could be an article that you've written, but you understand, oh, when this person is reading through this work, this is how they feel. So I always say people subscribe for 4 different reasons. So one of them is to feel something. So sometimes people just want to feel something. So they want to feel like that sense of like, I've read that and I feel soothed, or I've read that and I feel elated. I feel like I've had escapism. I feel like, moved. If it's poetry, I love poetry. It makes me cry. So for that reason, then sometimes they read to feel activated. So it makes them want to do something, like they feel activated. So quite a lot of journalists would write in that way, where it's like, oh, I feel like I really want to champion this thing, or I feel like I really feel enraged about this thing. They also sometimes want to feel educated. So Sparkle on Substack is that. You come to Sparkle on Substack if you want Substack education, if you want a beautiful community. And that is the 4th reason that people engage, to be in community. So to be around each other in the comments, to feel part of something that feels deeper than just them being in silo. So depending on people's personality types, they might be subscribed for all 4 of those reasons to your publication, or your publication might offer one of those things. So once you know what that is and you're working that through on the outside, you kind of need to evidence stack where this exists. So let me use lovely Kendall as an example. If you don't know Kendall, so Kendall has the seed here on Substack, and Kendall and I are friends and colleagues, and Kendall's one of my clients. So when I work with Kendall and we're going deep into this work, which we've done this week, she won't mind me saying, part of it is finding the way in, but part of it is also finding the way in for her right person. Because in terms of gardening tips, like the internet is awash with them, YouTube is awash with them, whatever, there are other gardening Substacks, whatever. Kendall's unique take on it all is actually about women who want more time for themselves, which the gardening is not a passive act, right? It's like time for yourself, but you're doing something physical. So like it's women who want to be in that space, but then also also want that future vision of like, my garden's a sanctuary and I'm really chuffed with myself. I'm so proud I planted those seeds, or I'm so proud I've tidied that little area, or I'm so proud I got ahead of things and my roses are in full bloom. So when we go deeper into the work I do with Kendall, it's about that. It's like, what are the messages around the seed and the gardening membership that she has and the other work that she does that allow women to have that bit of permission? So partly what you'll find if you speak to women about gardening, especially women, with young kids or, who are working as well, there's a guilt attached to not getting in the garden enough, for example. So, I really should have done that, but like, I'm a bit embarrassed. So there's the guilt and the embarrassment, and it shows on their faces, right? So they feel, Kendall's people, this is Dave's actually, my husband's, they feel embarrassed. So that is a feeling. They feel guilty. What they want is a beautiful garden. So you see how you can like get into the feelings and then get into the wants. What they think is, I haven't got time. Like, I'm a busy mum. Like, it's dark by the time I get home. Like, when is the time? So what Kendall then could offer to help people feel more spacious, like they've got more time, is like, you're with me for a year. Like, we're here together for a year. How about I've got a month by month chart of like this, that, and the other that's going to get you to the beautiful garden, that's going to get you to enjoying the cup of tea in the garden. So this is really business based stuff, like rather than Substack based stuff, but there's a crossover there because Kendall writes here. So, like that's the piece. So I think that can be really helpful. But ultimately, audience development is like the full-time part of the job that we have if we want to grow joyfully. Like, we need to understand our own audience development. We need to understand why a person wants to be subscribed, what a kind of experience they're having, whether that is passive or whether they're engaged, and how they want to go deeper with us in our work as well. Quite often, and this is why I did this live, quite often my audience will confuse me. But if I speak to people one-on-one, which obviously I do because I do Substack consults, it then becomes clearer. So I think sometimes the missing link is like talking to people about your work. So if you have anyone that subscribes in real life and you can do like a little exchange with each other and be like, what is it that you think that I write about? Or what is it you get from my publication? It can be really, really beautiful. My friend Caro, who also writes on here, Caro Giles, she is the author of 12 Moons and Unschooled. So Caro and I know each other. We've known each other for a long time, but we've like danced around the edges of like working together. We'd never actually worked together. And then Susie Walker invited us to work together at Storyfest and to put on an event for the audience there. Before any of that happened, I remember reading Caro's Instagram and being so incredibly moved. She's a beautiful writer, but so incredibly moved because there was a point of connection at that point in my life where I felt incredibly lonely as a mother, and Caro was articulating it. So I then couldn't get enough of reading Caro's Instagram post because I constantly felt seen. And so then when I did eventually bump into her in real life again, I told her that, but like it was an emotional day. Like, I sort of welled up a bit when I was telling her, and then she welled up a bit, and then we were just there, like in Sainsbury's car park, just like crying about this beautiful experience that we were both having. Like, she was having it because she's writing for an audience, and I was having it because I am the audience. So, like, not that we should have like goals around this stuff, but like, if we're not feeling into humanity, like, what are we actually doing? Like, just creating content for what though? So the feeling based stuff for me is like the magic key for everyone, really, like getting into the feelings of it all. I feel like over the years, obviously, Caro and I have developed, a deeper friendship, like the reciprocal trust. I'm interviewing her at Storyfest, and I want to do a beautiful job, like our memoir is gorgeous, but it's also like a call to arms for our UK government and the school system. Like, it's big, so I want to do a really good job. So me understanding Caro as a person and understanding what she's about will make me do a better job of interviewing her. So so things like that. Like, obviously I've taken that one into quite a deep example for you, but we shouldn't be having a passive experience and just looking at like numbers. Like, we should be having a really deep experience of understanding who is turning up to our work and why, and also enjoying the bit where it's quite quiet. So sometimes, we can be writing and we're like, is this thing on? Is anyone there? Like, is anyone listening? Is anyone reading? Like, what's actually going on? So I already mentioned the stats and having a look at the stats and seeing what open rates are doing and like what's going on with all of that. But remembering that this is you in your period of, flexing that muscle, getting really comfortable, healing some generational lineage if you need to, like feeling brave around it, feeling the feelings of like when like your husband's boss signs up or, whatever goes on behind the scenes with those subscribers, you want to be looking at that and feeling into how you feel to then steady yourself to go, okay, like you will know when you're ready for a bigger audience, like you'll feel it. You'll be like, right, this is it. Like it's not like, or any day now it might come, like you'll feel that, like that's a visceral thing energetically that you'll be ready for. So my mentor, Leonie Dawson, I remember it so well, so vividly. I remember getting up early and I'd put on this like meditation. It was like a guided meditation, I think. And I can't remember what it was to do with. It might have been to do with visibility, but I don't think it was. I think it was something else. And she was talking about all of the lights that were getting ready to be switched on. And so this had been like a vision that had come to her about her work when she'd first started doing her work online. And she was sort of talking us through it. And like, I remember just listening to it and being like, oh, like I am nowhere near that. So even though I was articulating to my mentor at the time, who was a marketing mentor, this is what I want. And I was telling her I wanted an international audience for my work. And she was sort of cocking her head and being like, "Ooh, like what, like why, like what's that about?" I was like, I don't know, like I just know that I want that. Like I don't want to just be seen as this like person that works in Northeast festivals and events. Like I really feel like I'm meant to do something else. She wasn't like super woo or anything, but so she was like getting me to dig into the messaging and like getting me to dig into the SEO. But then when Leonie talked about this moment of the vision of seeing all the people turning the lights on, I just recognized I totally wasn't ready. Like I wasn't ready for all sorts of reasons. I had loads more work to do, both on confidence, my sense of self in the world, but also what my offering was, like, so all of that has played out since. And I guess all that to say, you guys have got time. You've got time. So wherever you are in your journey, whatever you want on your journey, it's all possible. There should be no pushing because it will all come round to be just feeling aligned and you being like, right, I'm ready. And from that moment of being like, right, I'm ready, like, good things could happen. Really good things can happen. Yeah, in the homepage design video, no, I'm talking about setting up your homepage, imagining that 20,000 people are going to land overnight, because I've seen that happen for people. 20,000 people is an insane amount of subscribers, but I've seen that happen on Substack. So why wouldn't we be ready for that? Like, let's get ready. So yeah, so I think that is definitely one of the things to go deeper into your gingerbread person. Have any of you guys, oh, here we go. Jatna says, how would you advise making time to pour into Substack when life already feels full? I have a young child and a full-time job, but I'm so ready to dive deeper into my work here on Substack. Beautiful. I love this question. Okay, so I would say on your phone, I was looking for my phone there, but I'm on it. On your phone, it's because I was going to do it on the desktop. On your phone, what you want to do is create your phone so that it is optimized for the writing experience. So yes, have the Substack app on there, but if you use any other social media apps and you can ditch them for a while, take them off. Like just delete them. Just pretend they don't exist. Like if you feel like you need to do an announcement about it, do it. But most of the time you don't. Like I've done this for like periods of time, months at a time. So then once you've got the Substack app on your phone, also have the Notes app where you can organize some of your thoughts. So if you're serious about writing on Substack, you need a place where you can just dump in how you're feeling and then run with a thread. So I would quite often just have a thread, like when my daughter was like 2 and I was on Substack, I would have a thread that I would want to run with. And then when she napped, and this was like, not every day at all. Maybe this was like once every 2 months or something. When she napped, I would run with that thread and I would just pour my heart into that thread on the laptop. And then if I was ready to publish it, I would just publish it. Remember, like I didn't have an audience on here really. So it was just like for me to like put something out in the world and feel like a feeling accomplished. So I would do that. And then as I started to take it more seriously and Luna got older, I looked at building colleagueship and kinship, because that's really what I'm about. Like, I love all of that stuff. So I invited people to guest on my Substack so that I could have that experience and treat it like a real job, like real work, like something that I would do if I wasn't, if I wasn't being paid for it, whatever. It's like, it felt real. And I also sought out doing guest posts for other people once a month. So for me, that increased my confidence, it increased my visibility, it increased me understanding how I felt about being showcased by other publications. People think that you need to have a massive presence to be accepted onto other publications, but you actually don't. So depending on how it's working, but I know for me, like in my creative growth lab, I don't care how many people, subscribers a person's got. Like, if they have done a creative experiment and they want to write about it, in partnership with me, then that's what we do. Like, if people want to come on my podcast and they pay for the membership and they've embraced Substack, I'm like, yeah, let's have a chat. Like, I don't think there's as many gatekeepers as you might think that there are. And I think that is maybe a lesson for lots of us. So, for example, Keris Fox, who writes the Ladybird Purse, she looks for female writers to talk about money, and she interviews them about money, but you can make up your own questions. Keris won't mind me saying. So you can do it within your comfort zone. And she publishes usually like once or twice a week. So obviously she needs a lot of people. I've been on Keris's publication 3 times, and like 3 times new subscribers have come through to me. So I think it's about an approach that feels really nourishing to start with, especially with young ones around, and that feels like there's no expectation on it, because it's not like time is linear when it comes to online life. Like, people can go viral, all of a sudden people can arrive, that things can happen. So it's about really enjoying that space and time and cultivating a creative practice that feels really good. So sometimes that can be topic based. So like, I wrote about the garden a lot, the allotment garden. I wrote about plastic free living. I used to write about plastic free living on my blog, wrote about motherhood, bits and bobs, creativity. Like, I just had things that I like to write about and like to pull on. But sometimes there's an urgency in the writing that we get an extra bit of momentum around being brave around. So I would say look for that, because it might be that that's what's trying to come through. If you're not yet reading Elizabeth Gilbert, that would be a good place to start with all her beautiful work in terms of the creative practice. Right, I'll see if anybody else has anything else to say. Rachel's question I've done. Just scrolling up a bit in case I miss anything, because it's really hard to see. Yeah, I think one of the things Rachel's just saying about reminding herself of my work. I think one of the things I've really learned is, like, we think if we've said something or if we've introduced a concept that people have got it. But remember, people are coming and going all the time. And just because we've introduced something once doesn't mean people have got it. It usually takes a lot longer for people to understand what we're about. So things like reintroducing yourself at the top of every post or every other post can be really helpful. So people are like, oh yeah, this is this person. I've mentioned obviously like meetups and going for coffees and all that sort of gorgeous stuff. But even like Zoom meetups, I sometimes meet up with my Substack pals on Zoom and we just have a catch up. I feel like there's nothing aggressive that you need to do. It's really about finding community, doing the things that are rooted in reciprocity that work, having a bit of a strategy for notes that feels good and doesn't upset your nervous system. And then, yeah, doing your best work. Just do your best work. Okay, well, this has been amazing. Now I'll go and find out how many people unsubscribed, because I emailed them that I was going live. But you're always so welcome to come and hang out over at Sparkle on Substack. The next call that's coming up is about what we paywall and why, and when we send emails to paid subscribers only. So it's about separating out what we have for free, what we have for paid, and how we manage the paywall bit in between. So we're doing that at the end of the week after next, because it's half term next week. But the community chat is open, so if you guys have got questions, the community chat is there for you. I keep an eye on it. Sometimes I answer questions. I do answer them on the first Monday of the month, and sometimes I'll answer questions in between times if I've got questions in between times. I've got more audience development classes, so it's called Audience Alchemy. I'll link it in the replay, but there's 2-hour-long classes that are free that take you deeper into my audience development methodology and really give you that insight into feeling safe in your system, but also really enjoying this work, because what a time to be creating online. And stay connected to that if you can, because I feel like that's the place that gives us the most reassurance. Quiet the noise of the rest. Okay, guys. Beautiful. I will see you on the next one. Thanks so much for coming. It's been lovely to hang out with you.